Hey everyone, it's me, Ash. Um, wow, it's been a little bit since I've done a stream, huh? Last one was on Halloween, and that one was pretty dark. Oh boy. Um, oh yeah, I have purple hair. Um, let's see here. Today, I'm here to talk about what I did and the reason I'm in this Jehovah's Witness looking getup. No, I don't worry. I haven't gone back to the cult or anything. Everything's fine. Well, everything's not fine. I've actually been going through kind of a rough time lately, but that's not a discussion for right now. So, yeah, the reason I look like a Jehovah's Witness right now, but like I guess a trans Jehovah's Witness, is because today is Transgender Day of Remembrance. Yeah, it's that again. Um, and just like last year, I actually participated in a service that was held at a local church here. Um, Last year I only did some minor stuff. I helped out with a vigil, and I was passing out programs and stuff like that. This year I actually got up in front of everybody and helped read off the names of the people that were lost. Um, so that's why I'm dressed like this. Uh, it was once again, just like last year, it was a solemn event. Um, very very sobering. It's hard to hear all of the names. Um, and it was harder actually even just reading them this year. It was hard, much harder. Um, yeah, there were 331 this year in the past year that had passed away, that had been murdered because they're trans. And that's just the 331 that we know of. Um, oh, hi, Ash. Um, yeah, they the reason I say that we know of is because there are untold numbers of trans people that are victims of violence that are not reported because they're closeted or because their family intentionally misreports, you know, the information. Like they refuse to call them their name. They'll call them by their dead name, so nobody actually knows about some of the people that have passed away and been murdered by these, or murdered because they're trans. Like then there are also people that we don't know about because they're not even perceived as actually being trans, like some non-binary people, for instance, who've probably there are probably lots of non-binary people that have been murdered for being trans, and we're not going to have any idea of how many exactly because people don't recognize them as being male or female or whatever, or being trans or anything. So like they just don't acknowledge it, and they don't count them. Um, so yeah, uh, there's just there's a lot to unpack, and it's just every time I think about this, it's like a lot to take in. Anybody I know could be, um, on that list one year, and that's a scary thought. Any one of my trans siblings. Um, and that's another thing I want to bring up again this year is like, people forget, people keep forgetting, you know, that non-binary people exist, and they always say trans brothers and sisters, and they forget about our trans siblings who don't identify as either of those. Um, so let's keep those people in mind too. That's why I brought them up. The ones that they don't get counted because they're non-binary. Oh, anyway, yeah, it was a beautiful service actually. They had some lovely music. The church itself is a beautiful building. Um, I don't, I'm not a big fan of churches in general. Um, I don't know. Usually they make me feel uncomfortable, but that particular church doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. So, I feel all right. I mean, like, I think the reason that I didn't feel uncomfortable in that one is because it's so, you know, LGBT friendly and they're very welcoming in there, and it doesn't remind me too much of like the Kingdom Hall. So, and they weren't doing like any. It wasn't like a literal like a church service. So we weren't in there worshiping God or anything. Although there were some prayers said, but they weren't. We weren't in there to like talk about God and worship God or anything. We were in there to commemorate, or not commemorate, to memorialize people, lives lost. So yeah, um, the service was beautiful, very, like I said, sobering, very sad, um, powerful stuff. You know, um, you know, one thing I kind of take issue with, and I'm going to get a little bit of backlash for this, but I'm going to say it. One thing I take issue with, though, is that we, in this town that I live in, we're very military worshipy type of town, I guess, if you want to call it that. Um, Everything is very military centric here. They love the military here. So this year, in this year's service, unlike last year, they included a portion of the service where they had all of the trans service members come up and state their name and rank and all that stuff. And there was a speech given about how them continuing to serve, um, in spite of the fact that they're not, technically supposed to be openly serving, or be openly trans and serving, is supposed to be their protest or rebellion or something. And I understand the spirit of that. I get where they're coming from, but I just don't understand how we can celebrate or promote an organization that, one, doesn't respect trans people, and two, actually harms trans people. The military is very not trans friendly, to say the least. Um, you have to have a waiver right now in order to be able to serve uh, and be openly trans, because otherwise you're in violation of some sort of thing that they have in place. And as far as what they said tonight, what was said in the speech anyway, was that none of those waivers have been granted so far. So it doesn't sound like that's a very friendly organization that we should be taking pride in, or taking pride in being a part of. I don't know. Nonetheless, like I said, I understand the spirit of what they were trying to say and do, and where they're coming from on that. So I just think it's just a little bit misguided, but it's you know that's my opinion. But yeah, um, other than that, it was a nice service. Everything was very, very, very nice. And I think that the whole purpose of it, you know, was served well. We spoke every name of every person that we know of who was lost, and we acknowledged those who were unnamed that we couldn't know of. Oh, hey, JWS, what's going on? Um, Military has been notoriously homophobic, so no surprise they're not in a good place for trans people. Yeah, um, no kidding. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, you know what? It's I'm about to go after I do this. After I'm done with this stream, I'm gonna go, blow off a little steam at the local watering hole here. I'm not gonna have any alcohol though. I'm avoiding that. I'm gonna actually go and do some karaoke. And so I was telling Eden before you know, before I came in here to do this that you know, should I go outside um, dressed in this? Like, should I go to the? Thanks, JWS, and hey, Great Dane. Um, yeah, so I was telling him like, should I change clothes before I go to the bar because like, do you think that something bad will happen to me if I go out in this? Like, I'm literally wearing trans flag suspenders and and a trans flag bow tie. You know, um, I like this. I think this is hilarious. I mean, not hilarious, but like suspenders are kind of hilarious to me. But I think that this is cute. I like it. But um, I actually like literally had the thought cross my mind um, that what if I get hurt? What if somebody beats me up? What if somebody murders me because they see what I'm wearing and you know they know what that means and then they want to hurt me because of that? That's a thing that actually happens, and as much as I keep forgetting, when I'm in the company of good people like I was tonight, um, it really does happen. And it's a thing that I you know, should think about. Oh, I shouldn't have to think about it, but it's a thing that I have to consider before I leave the house. Is the way that I look going to bring me harm? Um, and yeah, I was thinking, gee, that would be really tragic if I just got home from a TDOR service and ended up being on the list for next year, just trying to blow off some steam from remembering all the other people who got hurt in the same way. It's like I don't know, it's just a terrifying thought. Oh, thank you. Thank you, JWS. And thanks, Great Dane. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I like it makes me feel sad that this is reality, not just for me, but for like a lot of people, um, more people than we even know about. That you have to think about stuff like that, and you know, I'm sure that cis women can kind of relate in some senses of being a little bit afraid to dress a certain way and leave the house, and worry about being assaulted. You know, anything could happen. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the movie Boys Don't Cry. If you aren't, I don't recommend watching it. It is horrendous. It's very triggery, very traumatizing stuff. But that's the kind of stuff that I've seen in my childhood, and like I think in some ways that kind of stuff kept me closeted a little bit because I was afraid stuff like that would happen to me, um, and it very well could. It very well could, and that's why we have TDOR, is because we need to be visible. We need the pain and suffering in our community, the violence against our community, to be visible, because all too often it isn't, and people forget, and it gets swept under the rug, or even completely hidden, or doesn't count because people won't acknowledge that somebody isn't the person they want them to be, I guess. Crazy in this day and age that people get murdered for their gender, their sexuality, their journey. Yeah, well, I mean, people have always been getting murdered for that kind of stuff, I think. Not that that's a good thing. Just because it's always been happening doesn't mean it's a good thing. It's a thing that needs to change. We need to. We just need to be okay with people being themselves. As long as nobody's hurting another person, I don't see what's wrong with somebody who feels that they are, more inclined toward a certain uh, gender identity. I don't see what's wrong with them identifying that way, as long as they're not, using that to harm somebody. What's the big deal? Uh, it's just let people exist. um, and the other thing about TDOR is it doesn't include the number of people who we lose every year to suicide. Um, this is just people who are murdered. That's 331 murdered. Um, this year, it seemed like Brazil had a harder time than most of the other places. Like there were a lot from there. I think this year was the most. I'm going to leave a link in the description of this stream when I conclude it, so that you can see the entire list of names for yourself. It also includes, in most of the cases, the date of their murder and the way in which they were killed. So if that's something that would trigger you or upset you to look at, then perhaps don't look at the list. But if you want to get a sense of what reality is for trans people, what we have to face, um, go take a peek at the list. And I think it actually has the website has previous years as well, so you can see the violence against trans people over the years. It's a hard thing to look at. I'm not going to lie, but it's needed. I think, like I said, it's necessary for this to be visible. But anyway, yeah. Let's see what we got going on here in the chat. Sorry, I've been going on for a bit. Let's see here. Boys Don't Cry is an old movie, and we should have learned since then. Yeah, you got that right. Who cares what another person's place is? Exactly. I mean, unless that person is trying to do you harm with that somehow, which I'm not really sure how they would, but unless they're trying to do you harm, I don't see what the big deal is. Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Oh, where I'm not I'm not in a hospital. I'm just in a shed. This is where I record all the terrible music that I post. It's in this lovely shed with my really wonky microphone setup that I won't show on camera because it's a disaster. It's literally a microphone tied to an old lamp, which I actually used to use for filming as a tripod, which is funny. And it's got a pop filter attached to it as well. Yeah, I'm in a shed. It's just because it's quieter out here, and Eden's trying to sleep right now and focus. Actually, I think he's focusing for a little bit on his comics, and then he's going to go to sleep. So I didn't want to disturb him either. Plus, honestly, I get a little nervous doing streams in front of him. Like, I can't. It just feels. I don't know. It's weird talking to a screen and then like a bunch of people online, and then he's like in the next room or something. But anyway, I digress. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to like my music. I just, it's hard because my voice keeps changing. So, I mean, that's a good thing that it's changing. I want it to get deeper. It's just hard to learn how to control it again every time it changes again. But thank you. I appreciate that. Still no facial hair. I'm as baby faced as ever, by the way. I'm slathering on minoxidil, aka Rogaine, um, and it's making it vaguely fuzzier. I've only been at it for like a couple of weeks. I heard it takes like a couple of months for any results, but we're getting there. I hope. Come on, facial hair. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody saying the things that you said, and I really appreciate that you're even listening to me talk about this, because it really is very, very important. I mean, it is literally life or death, and the fact that anybody cares enough to listen to this, it means a lot. That you care, that you care whether I live or die, because that's essentially what this is about. Is, you know, how unsafe it is for me to exist in the world as myself, and for my trans siblings as well. So, oh yeah, in case you're wondering, what's on my jacket here? It's a little trans flag ribbon. They were passing those out, and they also were passing out some buttons. This says, it's hard to see, but it says my pronouns are he, him, his. Um, oh, I don't like your voice because of the octave. I like it because of the feel. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Oh, and thanks, Denise. I look sharp. I look like a Jehovah's Witness a little tiny bit, but I would never get away with wearing this in the Kingdom Hall. They would like be super upset. Um, yeah, and these were just for this event. I actually didn't have these before. I like these though. I will probably wear these other places if I feel brave enough. Because, like I said earlier, I was a little scared to possibly wear them to the bar to do karaoke tonight. I just, I wanna believe that nobody would hurt me, and that I live in a good area of town where people are more accepting and stuff like that. But I don't know. It can happen anywhere. It can happen anytime. There are people. Um, there are bigoted, violent people everywhere, in every walk of life. So, oh, and yeah, JWS, my hair color would block me from Kingdom Hall. Surprisingly enough, I've actually done a Kingdom Hall crash with purple hair before. That was before, when I was presenting as female, though. I don't know how I got away with it, actually. I don't know how they let me in. Not only did I have purple hair, but I was also in like a really tight, like low cut dress, and and like it was when I did the crash on November 5th, while everybody was doing the crash in Warwick. I did the ones with Professor and Grace and Rick. Yeah, that's when I had the purple hair and the tight dress and all that stuff. I don't know why they let me in like that. That's so weird. We need to talk with you in the back room. Oh yeah, they would definitely need to talk with me if they saw me walk in with this. I'm sure they must know what the trans flag is. Like, they can't possibly not know. Um, let's see here. In the U.S., it seems scarier as you have guns. Oh, absolutely. That is a thing that I'm terrified of, especially here in Texas, because we have open carry laws. You can literally walk down the street with a gun on you, and that's fine. In fact, you can also walk down the street with a samurai sword if you so choose. That's perfectly legal now, too. So, yeah, there's just a bunch of people who are walking around with weapons and stuff. Meanwhile, we don't have good health care here in this country, so we have a lot of unmedicated, mentally ill people walking around with weapons. So that's fun. And I'm in Texas, like I said, so it's the South. You know, they're not super friendly toward gay, asexual, trans people. Uh, yeah. So yeah, that's a legitimate fear. I'll have seen the crash then with you in purple hair. Yeah, you. I think you have seen that. It's. I don't think I'm on camera though, because usually I record from my pocket or something. Or actually, I think in that case I may have actually been holding the camera out because it was chaos. So like, there was no point in hiding the camera at that point. Um, but yeah, yeah. Thanks everybody again for like listening to this because it is. God, it's so heavy. It's just a heavy thing to think about, and I'm really glad that in my city that they do something for it every year. There is a service that's held, and we do observe this. Um, and I'm always really glad. The last time I went, which was the first time I went, I was really glad to see that there were so many people there, and not just trans people, lots and lots of just people from the community, LGBT people, um, straight people, religious people, not religious people. Everybody was there in support, and that just, that always gives me a sense of hope. Um, that maybe someday the world will be healed from this, and maybe someday we won't read off any names. Maybe. Anyway, folks, let's see here. Oh yeah, you may have seen me. I forgot that other people were recording me. Professor and Grace were both, I think, recording. So they may have caught me on camera. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just drinking some water. Like I said, I'm pretty boring. No alcohol, just the good old LaCroix. Trying to avoid the alcohol. It's not good for you. Uh, anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. And, I've, like I said in the Halloween video, I've noticed there's been a lot of turmoil in this community, the XGW community lately. And I'm very disappointed by that, I have to say. This is so far from, you know, from the original, community that was formed, that this is so far from everything. Like, I just had to say that I'm disappointed that there's so much, infighting, and that, it seems like nothing's able to get done anymore. I hope that the community gets healed from that, because I would really like to see activism, and being more productive again in this community instead of people fighting each other. I don't understand that. Like, the only reason uh, to cause division in this community seems like it would be if you want this to fail, if you want Watchtower to win. So just something to think about. Like, you know, if you noticed certain people trying to cause division and cause fighting all the time, just something to think about. What are their motives? Is it possible that maybe they want Watchtower to win? I don't know. That's just a thought. Anyway, folks, I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. I'm gonna try to go have a decent rest of my evening. I'm gonna go blow off some steam, sing some karaoke. Embarrass myself in front of people that I don't know. And yeah, hopefully it won't be, hundreds of names again next year that I see on the list that I have to participate in reading off. I would really like to see the day where people aren't killed for that kind of stuff, or for anything, like anything. But especially not for something as benign as just trying to be yourself, because that's just awful. Let's see here. There are infiltrators, but this also is the route to the end. Enjoy your karaoke night. Oh, okay, thank you. I believe the XGW community is finding a balance in that not judging others versus exposing the actual real truth. Yeah, the community is it's definitely going through some growing pains, I'll say. Let's hope that it is just growing pains and it's not just self-destructive stuff. Please have fun. Hope it goes better than you wish. Thanks, Denise. Me too. Um, yeah, I'm gonna try to have fun, and I'm gonna try not to worry about anybody being violent toward me, even though that's like a very real thing that could happen. Yeah, maybe I will just change clothes. I shouldn't have to change clothes though. I should be able to just go out and be myself. I don't know. What do you all think? Should I change? Should I relent and be afraid and closet myself, or should I just go as myself and be a you know just try to be comfortable and not be afraid? I don't know. It's risky, but I kind of just want to be myself. And yeah, I don't know how unsafe it is either. I mean, I know that there are guns everywhere, and I know that that's there are people here that don't like people like me. I don't know. I don't know what the statistics are like or what the possibility is of me getting hurt. I don't know the percentage or anything, the likelihood, but it's there, and that's enough to kind of send a shiver down your spine. Anyway, folks, I'll leave you with this. No matter who you are, what you believe, or how you want to live your life, or who you want to live it as, just try to live honestly, try not to do any harm, and take care of yourselves and each other. That's all you got to do, right? Anyway, have a good one, everybody. Guys, gals, and non binary pals.